Enough is enough, folks. I love this country, but this country has written many wrongs and continue to do so. We are seeing the price for that as I speak. I don't condone violence and looting. Anyone who knows me or have worked with me can testify to that. As a Christian, I believe in treating one as you would like to be treated. If we want to make this country and world a better place for our children, go stand in front of a mirror and start with that person you see.
Hey, this the K Breezy podcast show. You know he stay up in his lab, you know he tryna work. And he just want me to make a song so everybody know that K Breezy he ain't playing around. And this is intro.
Hello and welcome to another K Brizzy podcast show. Today is June the 3rd of 2020. This is probably going to be one of the most important and meaningful podcasts that I have ever done and will put together. Why is that, you might ask? Because it involves my people, African Americans, living in the United States of America under police brutality. Colin Kaepernick has been on my mind lately. One might ask themselves, is America a great country? Has America ever been great? The answer will depend upon whose perspective you're looking at those questions from. The answer to those two questions, in my humble opinion, is an emphatic no. To an African American, that is an easy question to answer. If one is not African American, but understood and knew our history, they will come to the same conclusion. America is reaping what it has been sowing for many years, decades, and centuries. The current state of America, as I speak into my microphone, should not come as a surprise to you. There have been 8 days of protesting, civil unrest, rioting, and looting in many cities across our country. As some would say, the chickens have come home to roost. Let me begin by taking you all on the journey of this horrible path just within the last 10 years in America and to show you all the reasons on why we are where we are today. May God bless these individual souls until he returns again. Thank you. Okay, number one, Trayvon Benjamin Martin was a 17-year-old African-American teenager from Miami Gardens, Florida, who was fatally shot in Sanford, Florida by George Zimmerman. Martin had gone with his father on a visit to his father's fiancée at her townhouse at the retreat at Twin Lakes in Sanford. On the evening of February 26, Martin was walking back alone to the fiancée's house from a nearby convenience store. Zimmerman, a member of the community watch, saw Martin and reported him to the Sanford police as suspicious. Several minutes later, there was an altercation and Zimmerman fatally shot Martin in the chest. Zimmerman was injured during the encounter and claimed he had been defending himself. He was not charged at the time. The police said there was no evidence to refute his claim of self-defense and that Florida's stand your ground law prohibited them from arresting or charging him. After national media focused on the incident, Zimmerman was eventually charged and tried, but the jury acquitted him of second-degree murder and manslaughter in July of 2013. Number 2, Eric Garner. On July 17th of 2014, Eric Garner died in the New York City borough of Staten Island after Daniel Pantaleo, a New York City Police Department officer, put him in a chokehold while arresting him. Video footage of the incident generated widespread national attention and raised questions about the appropriate use of force by law enforcement. NYPD officers approached Garner on July 17th on suspicion of selling single cigarettes from packs without tax stamps. After Garner told the police that he was tired of being harassed and that he was not selling cigarettes, the officers attempted to arrest Garner. When Pantaleo placed his hands on Garner, Garner refused to cooperate and pulled his arms away. Pantaleo then placed his arm around Garner's neck and wrestled him to the ground. With multiple officers restraining him, Garner repeated the words, "I can't breathe," 11 times while laying face down on the sidewalk. After Garner lost consciousness, officers turned him onto his side to ease his breathing. Garner remained lying on the sidewalk for 7 minutes while the officers waited for an ambulance to arrive. Garner was pronounced dead at an area hospital approximately 1 hour later. Number 3, Michael Brown Jr. On August 9th of 2014, Michael Brown Jr., an 18-year-old black man, was fatally shot by 28-year-old white Ferguson police officer Darren Wilson in the city of Ferguson, Missouri, a suburb of St. Louis. Brown was accompanied by his 22-year-old friend Dorian Johnson. Wilson said that an altercation ensued when Brown attacked Wilson in his police vehicle for control of Wilson's gun until it was fired. Johnson stated that Wilson initiated a confrontation by grabbing Brown by the neck through his car window, threatening him and then shooting at him. At this point, both Wilson and Johnson state that Brown and Johnson fled, with Wilson pursuing Brown shortly thereafter. Wilson stated that Brown stopped and charged him after a short pursuit. Johnson contradicted this account, stating that Brown turned around with his hands raised after Wilson shot at his back. According to Johnson, Wilson then shot Brown multiple times until Brown fell to the ground. In the entire altercation, Wilson fired a total of 12 bullets, including twice during the struggle in the car. The last was probably the fatal shot. Brown was hit 6 times, all from the front. Number 4, LaQuan McDonald. The murder of LaQuan McDonald took place on October 20th of 2014 in Chicago, Illinois, when the 17-year-old African-American was fatally shot by Chicago police officer Jason Van Dyke. Police had initially reported that McDonald was behaving erratically while walking down the street, refused to put down a knife he was carrying, and lunged at them. Preliminary internal police reports described the incident similar and ruled the shooting justified, and Van Dyke was not charged in the shooting at that time. When a court ordered the police to release a dash cam video of the shooting 13 months later, on November 24th of 2015, it showed McDonald had been walking away from the police when he was shot. The same day, Officer Van Dyke was charged with first-degree murder and initially held without bail at the Cook County Jail. He was released on bail on November 30th. The city reached a settlement with McDonald's family. On October 5th of 2018, Van Dyke was found guilty of second-degree murder as well as 16 counts of aggravated battery with a firearm. Number 5, Walter Scott. The shooting of Walter Scott occurred on April 4th of 2015 in North Charleston, South Carolina, following a daytime traffic stop for a non-functioning brake light. Scott, an unarmed black man, was shot and killed by Michael Slager, a white North Charleston police officer. Slager was charged with murder after a video surfaced that showed him shooting Scott from behind while Scott was fleeing, and that contradicted his police report. The race difference led many to believe that the shooting was racially motivated, generating a widespread controversy. The case was independently investigated by the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Office of the U.S. Attorney for the District of South Carolina, and the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division conducted their own investigations. In June of 2015, a South Carolina grand jury indicted Slager on a charge of murder. He was released on bond in January of 2016. In late 2016, a 5-week trial ended in a mistrial due to a hung jury. In May 2016, Slager was indicted on federal charges, including violation of Scott's civil rights and obstruction of justice. In a May 27 plea agreement, Slager pleaded guilty to federal charges of civil rights violations, and he was returned to jail pending sentencing. In return for his guilty plea, the state's murder charges were dropped. In December 2017, Slager was sentenced to 20 years in prison, with the judge determining the underlying offense was second-degree murder. Number 6, Freddie Gray. On April 12th of 2015, Freddie Carlos Gray Jr., a 25-year-old black man, was arrested by the Baltimore Police Department and subsequently charged for possessing a knife. While being transported in a police van, Gray fell into a coma and was taken to the R. Adams Cowley Shock Trauma Center. Gray died on April 19th of 2015. His death was ascribed to injuries to his spinal cord. On April 21st of 2015, pending an investigation of the incident, 6 Baltimore police officers were suspended with pay. The circumstances of the injuries were initially unclear. Eyewitnesses' accounts suggested that the officers involved used unnecessary force against Gray during the arrest, a claim denied by all officers involved. Commissioner Anthony W. Batts reported that, contrary to the department policy, the officers did not secure him inside the van while driving to the police station. This policy had been put into effect 6 days prior to Gray's arrest. Following review of other transport-related injuries sustained during police custody in the city and elsewhere in the country during the preceding years, the medical investigation found that Gray had sustained the injuries while in transport. The medical examiner's office concluded that Gray's death could not be ruled an accident and was instead a homicide because officers failed to follow safety procedures through acts of omission. On May 1st of 2015, the Baltimore City State's Attorney, Marilyn Mosby, announced her office had filed charges against 6 police officers after the medical examiner's report ruled Gray's death a homicide. Number 7. Lando Castillo. On July 6 of 2016, Lando Castillo, a 32-year-old African-American man, was stopped while driving and fatally shot by Geronimo Yanis, a 29-year-old Hispanic-American police officer from St. Anthony, Minnesota. Castillo was driving with his partner, Diamond Reynolds, and her 4-year-old daughter when at 9:00 p.m., their vehicle was pulled over by Yanis and another officer in Falcon Heights, a suburb of St. Paul, Minnesota. After being asked for his license and registration, Castillo told Officer Yanis that he had a firearm. And actually, Castillo was licensed to carry that firearm, to which Yanis replied, "Don't reach for it then." And Castillo said, I was reaching for. Yanis said, "Don't pull it out." Castillo replied, "I'm not pulling it out." And Reynolds said, "He's not." Yanis repeated, "Don't pull it out," and then shot at Castillo at close range 7 times, hitting him 5 times. Castillo died at 9:37 p.m. at Hennepin County Medical Center about 20 minutes after being shot. Reynolds posted a live stream video on Facebook in the immediate aftermath of the shooting, which prompted the incident to achieve national notoriety. There were local and national protests, and 5 months after the incident, Yanis was charged with second-degree manslaughter and 2 counts of dangerous discharge of a firearm. After 5 days of deliberation, he was acquitted of all charges on June 16th of 2017 in a jury trial and was immediately fired by the city of St. Anthony. Wrongful death lawsuits against the city brought by Reynolds and Castillo's family were settled for $3.8 million. Number 8. Ahmad Barry. On February 23rd of 2020, Ahmad Marquez Barry, an unarmed 25-year-old African-American man, was fatally shot near Brunswick in Glenn County, Georgia, while jogging on Holmes Road just before entering its intersection with Satilla Drive and the Satilla Shores neighborhood. Barry had been pursued and confronted by 2 white residents, Travis McMichael and his father Gregory, who were armed and driving a pickup truck. The event was recorded on video by a third Satilla Shores resident, William Roddy Bryan, who was following Arbery in his second vehicle. The Glenn County Police Department said the Brunswick District Attorney's Office advised them on February 23rd to make no arrests, while the Brunswick District Attorney's Office denied that such advice was given to GCPD by either the Brunswick District Attorney or her assistant district attorneys. On February 24th, Waycross Judicial Circuit District Attorney George Barnhill, who had not yet been assigned to the case, advised the GCPD that no arrest should be made. Barnhill officially took over the case on February 27th. Later on April 2nd, Barnhill again advised the GCPD to make no arrests, while announcing his intention to recuse from the case due to connections between Gregory McMichael and Barnhill's son. Barnhill requested recusal on April 7th. Atlantic Judicial Circuit District Attorney Tom Durden was appointed to the case on April 13th. At the behest of Gregory McMichael, a local attorney provided a copy of the video of the shooting to WGIG, a local radio station, who put it on the station's website on May 5th. The video went viral, having also been posted on YouTube and Twitter. Within hours, Durden said a grand jury would decide whether charges would be brought and accepted an offer from Governor Brian Kemp to have the Georgia Bureau of Investigation investigate the case. On May 7th, the GBI arrested the McMichaels and charged them with felony murder and aggravated assault. On May 21st, Brian was arrested and charged with felony murder and attempted false imprisonment. The fact that the McMichaels were not arrested until 74 damn days later, after the video went viral, sparked debates on racial profiling in America. Numerous religious leaders, politicians, athletes, and other celebrities condemned the incident. The GCPD and the Brunswick District Attorney Office were nationally criticized for their handling of the case and the delayed arrest. Georgia Attorney General Christopher M. Carr formally requested the intervention of the FBI in the case on May 10th, which the FBI granted the following day. Number 9, Brianna Taylor. On March 13th of 2020, Brianna Taylor, a 26-year-old African-American woman, was fatally shot by Louisville Metro Police Department while her and her boyfriend were sleeping in their apartment. Sergeant Jonathan Mattingly, Detective Brett Hankinson, and Detective Miles Cosgrove entered her apartment in plain clothes in Louisville, Kentucky, while serving a no-knock warrant. Another police officer and an LMPD lieutenant were on the scene when the warrant was executed. Gunfire was exchanged between Taylor's boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, and LMPD officers who entered the apartment. Taylor was shot 8 times and Mattingly was injured by gunfire. No drugs were found in the apartment. Number 10, George Floyd. This was the heated catalyst. This was the final straw that broke the motherfucking camel's back. On May 25th of 2020, George Floyd, a 46-year-old black man, died in Minneapolis, Minnesota after Derek Chauvin, a white officer with the Minneapolis Police Department, pressed his knee to Floyd's neck for almost 9 minutes while Floyd was handcuffed face down on the ground, while 3 other officers further restricted his body movement and prevented onlookers from intervening. During the last 3 minutes, Floyd was motionless. An ambulance was called at the scene. Floyd went into full cardiac arrest and was pronounced dead at a nearby hospital. Floyd was arrested because he was accused of using a counterfeit $20 bill at a market. Police said Floyd physically resisted arrest. Some media organizations commented that a security camera from a nearby business did not show Floyd resisting. The criminal complaint stated that, based on body camera footage, Floyd repeatedly said he could not breathe while standing outside the police car, resisted getting in the car, and intentionally fell down. He went to the ground face down, and after Chauvin placed his knee, Floyd repeatedly said, "I can't breathe, mama, and please." Several bystanders took videos, all of which were widely circulated and broadcast. While knee-to-neck restraints are allowed in Minnesota under certain circumstances, Chauvin's usage of the technique has been widely criticized by law enforcement experts as excessive. At 2 points, the police officer that was holding Floyd's legs asked to roll Floyd on his side. All 4 officers involved in the arrest were fired the next day. Tamir Rice. On 22nd of November of 2014, Tamir Rice, a 12-year-old African-American boy, was killed in Cleveland, Ohio by Timothy Loehmann, a 26-year-old police officer. Rice was carrying a replica toy airsoft gun. Loehmann shot him almost immediately after arriving on the scene. Two officers, Loeman and 46-year-old Frank Garner, were responding to a police dispatch call regarding a male who keeps pulling a gun out of his pants and pointing it at people. A caller reported that a male was pointing a pistol at random people at the Coudale Recreation Center, a park in the city of Cleveland's Public Works Department. At the beginning of the call and again in the middle, he says of the pistol, it's probably fake. Toward the end of the 2-minute call, the caller states that he is probably a juvenile. However, this information was not relayed to officers Loeman or Garner on the initial dispatch. The officers reported that upon their arrival, they both continuously yelled, "Show me your hands," through the open patrol car window. Loeman further claimed that instead of showing his hands, it appeared as if Rice was trying to draw. "I knew it was a gun and I knew it was coming out." In response, the officers shot twice, hitting Rice once in the torso. He died the following day. Rice's guns was later found to be an airsoft replica that lacked the orange tip barrel, which would have indicated it was a non-lethal gun. A surveillance video of the incident was released by the police 4 days after the shooting. On the 26th of November, on 3rd June of 2015, the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Office declared that their investigation had been completed and that they had turned their findings over to the county prosecutor. Several months later, the prosecution presented evidence to a grand jury, which declined to indict, primarily on the basis that Rice was drawing what happens to be an actual firearm from his waist as the police arrived. A lawsuit brought against the city of Cleveland by Rice's family was subsequently settled for $6 million. In the aftermath of the shooting, it was revealed that Loeman, in his previous job as a police officer in the Cleveland suburb of Independence, had been deemed an emotionally unstable recruit and unfit for duty. Loeman did not disclose this fact on his application to join the Cleveland Police Department, and Cleveland police never reviewed his previous personnel file before hiring him. In 2017, following an investigation, Loeman was fired for withholding this information on his application. An FBI review by retired agent Kimberly Crawford found that Rice's death was justified and Loeman's response was a reasonable one. The incident received national and international coverage and occurred around the time of several other high-profile police shootings of black males. Sandra Bland was a 28-year-old African-American woman who was found hanged in a jail cell in Waller County, Texas, on July 13th of 2015, 3 days after being arrested during a pretextual traffic stop. Her death was ruled a homicide. It was followed by protests against her arrest, disputing the cause of death and alleging racial violence against her. Bland was pulled over for a minor traffic violation on July 10th by State Trooper Brianna Taylor. The exchange escalated, resulting in Bland's arrest and charge for assaulting a police officer. The arrest was partially recorded by Encinia's dash cam, a bystander's cell phone, and Bland's own cell phone. After authorities reviewed the dash cam footage, Encinia was placed on administrative leave for failing to follow proper traffic stop procedures. Texas authorities and the FBI conducted an investigation into Bland's death and determined the Waller County Jail did not follow required policies, including time checks on inmates and ensuring that employees had completed required medical health training. In December of 2015, a grand jury declined to indict the county sheriff and jail staff for a felony relating to Bland's death. The following month, Encinia was indicted for perjury for making false statements about the circumstances surrounding Bland's arrest, and he was subsequently fired by the Texas Department of Public Safety. In September of 2016, Bland's mother settled a wrongful death lawsuit against the county jail and police department for $1.9 million and some procedural changes. In June of 2017, the perjury charge against Encinia was dropped in return for his agreement to permanently end his law enforcement career. In 2019, Bland's cell phone video became available to the public and to Bland's family for the first time. The video was obtained and shown by Dallas news station WFAA. This video was not available during the civil trials. As a Christian, we're supposed to treat one as we would like to be treated ourselves. One should not be mistreated or be treated differently because of the color of their skin. In the words of the great Martin Luther King Jr., a riot is the language of the unheard. Again, I don't condone violence or looting on any level at all, but the anger and frustration that I do understand. Finally, remember to always elevate your mind and your thinking. If you like content like this, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay safe and take care. May God bless.